The lucky country, where the land is as diverse as its people, where the world's oldest culture continues, and where thousands arrive seeking new opportunities. This is Australia.
But while we always call Australia home, we know that there are areas we need to change. As we take you through our two projects, the Nubala Yugal Education Centre and the Women's Creative Hub, let us show you a side of Australia you don't often see.
At Enactus Macquarie, we recognise the power to uplift our beneficiaries. Keeping their needs at the core of our work, we strive to ensure that no one remains unlucky in the lucky country.
School for Australian students typically starts at 9 a.m. And no, we don't use a kangaroo to get there, but when we arrive, we are greeted by a teacher and 25 other students our age. To ensure for top quality resources, $36 billion is invested into education each year.
Yet, Australia is the second most unequal education system amongst developed countries. Compared to 58% of all Australians, only 19% of Indigenous adults finish high school.
To understand the cause of this inequality, our team travelled to Moree, one of the most disadvantaged towns in rural Australia. And what we discovered was fully equipped classrooms, but students just weren't attending.
Taking a human-centred approach, we invested over 1,000 hours in interviews, focus groups, and community activities to understand why.
Here, we met Darren, a 15-year-old basketball enthusiast. But behind his cheeky grin was a history of crime. Because he felt safer being outside than at home, he spent his nights out on the streets, often engaging in dangerous activities. And when he went to school, he'd rebel, causing him to be sent home and unable to catch up. Darren is just one of the thousands of rural youth facing this problem.
So our team developed the Nubala Yugal Education Centre, a holistic approach to education that provides security, belonging, and empowerment of youth to pave their own future.
First, safety. Due to complex home environments, poverty, and boredom, youth in Moree seek refuge out on the street at night and enter cycles of crime. They are 24 times more likely to end up in prison than the rest of the population.
To create a safe haven, our centre runs from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And to ensure good health and well-being, we partnered with Coles, one of Australia's leading supermarkets, for free meal incentives.
Secondly, we needed to rebuild their trust and confidence in the education system.
Under the current 1 to 25 teacher to student ratio, it's hard to help every troubled child. So our centre has one mentor for every 5 students to build stronger connections and support. For students who don't have access to technology, we also partnered with Travel Beyond Group, who provided PCs and printers, aiding a more interactive learning experience. To establish trust, we partnered with Hands and Feet, who have been working with the community for over 20 years and who provide mentors for the centre. Through our networks, we also hired Steve, who had a background in education and moved to Moree to deliver the program.
Next, while we help students from 8 to 17 years old, our classes are not based on age but on academic level, so students don't feel embarrassed asking for help. Since current schools don't include a First Nations perspective in learning, we wanted to provide students with pride and connection.
So we collaborated with First Nations organisations to provide mentors and learning material. Our structure also enables students to take days off for cultural events without falling behind in class.
Initially, we relied on donations, grants, and partnerships.
Confident in our disruptive model, we approached the State Department of Education for direct funding, but we got rejected. This fueled our determination. We learned that local schools decide where they allocate funds, so we began negotiations where funds would be allocated to us when a student is referred.
Through successful relationships with local schools and the Justice Department, students that are falling behind and that rebel are referred to our centre.
Last year, our centre did not exist, but just 5 months after our first trip, we had 22 students enrolled for our pilot. We track improvements in grades, retention rates, and program completion. The long-term benefits are also assessed by collecting data on student pathways. For example, basketball enthusiast Darren.
He had been released on bail, and it's been 4 years since Darren has been either willing or able to attend any school classrooms. So immediately we began building relationship. After the COVID-19 restrictions began to ease, he went immediately to 2/3 of his attendance with us, and for the last fortnight, almost 100%.
While attendance at local schools is at 66%, our students average at 90%. Based on community interest, we project 20 mentors next year to allow us to help up to 100 students, with surrounding towns already expressing interest.
With this success, we are proud to say that despite the initial rejection from the State Department, we are now working with them to endorse our program.
This opens the doors to 2,000 rural towns forming part of our serviceable market, to 500,000 rural youth caught in the cycle of crime and educational disadvantage.
Nubala Ugul goes beyond meeting educational standards. It reduces inequality, ensures the well-being of our students, and provides quality education. And through working with the community, it is able to break cycles of injustice and disadvantage. We recognise that mainstream systems don't meet diverse needs and apply this understanding across projects.
No one can deny the diverse beauty in the Australian landscape, but the beauty of the country lies in our people, who are as diverse as our land. With boundless plains to share, over 500,000 people migrate to Australia each year for new opportunities. Yet for those seeking refuge, these opportunities are in sight but out of reach. "83% of women from refugee backgrounds remain unemployed 18 months after arriving in Australia. We found a common longing to integrate into Australian society, but limited support to do so. Current services encourage women to seek jobs, but are unable to provide them with a sense of belonging and community, leaving the women still feeling alienated and alone.
We partnered with the House of Welcome to build upon the Women's Creative Hub. The Hub empowers women from refugee and asylum-seeking backgrounds by providing a safe space for social connection and income opportunities. While our partner manages daily operations, our team develops opportunities to transition the women into society.
In this past year, our weekly visits to the Hub, including interviews, focus groups, and surveys, revealed a 90% increase in social confidence. With this, we were ready to take the next steps to help integrate the women by focusing on community engagement and creating a sustainable future for them and their families.
To build community engagement after upskilling the women this year, they took the lead in hosting cooking and craft workshops. With each workshop, the women are able to build their leadership, communication skills, and refine their talents. From this, they are able to open their own market stall. 100% of the women were able to profit over $100 per day, with income going directly to the women. We wanted to ensure the women could test consumer interest in their product with no financial risk. So the Hub covers all overhead costs, after which the women can decide if they want to open a permanent store.
To build a sustainable future, we realised the potential in the women's passion for cooking and the lack of flexibility in employment options. So, after crowdfunding for seed capital, our team launched a little something, connecting the women to catering opportunities. This bridged the gap between women who developed skills from the cooking workshops but were not yet ready to establish their own businesses. This year, the women independently hosted 25 craft workshops and 29 cooking classes, engaging over 300 community members. Our activities generated a gross income of $20,781. Part of this forms income for the women, while 35% is reinvested back into the Hub for workshops and expanding activities.
We have also secured 2 partnerships, and based on existing demand, we project at least 1 catering opportunity per month next year, totaling a projected income of $36,000.
When COVID-19 led to the temporary shutdown of our Hub, we launched a donation campaign to provide immediate relief to our most vulnerable women, covering food and transport. And to continue community engagement, we launched the Virtual Hub. Here, women share tutorials and promote their individual businesses. It also includes a store for the products unable to be sold at markets. We are now also in discussions with Macquarie University for the women to become their caterers once restrictions ease. Experience across these activities provided motivation and validated their talents. This year we have worked with 24 women entrepreneurs who through their workshops and activities have directly and indirectly impacted over 500 people. Using the Hub as a platform, 4 women have now launched their own enterprises: Chandra, Saucin, Pinky and Aska.
I have a lot of friends now, all the women, I love it.
When I learned all these things, now I'm cooking, crochet, knitting, everything. I like making jewelry. Before hobby, now is my job.
These activities and the skills gained are the stepping stones for social confidence and integration. And the Virtual Hub ensures this impact is shared. With a strong foundation of skills, women are able to confidently step out of the Hub while new women are referred.
The Women's Creative Hub equips them with tools to establish a life for themselves and their families, ensuring their well-being through decent work. For some, this involves running their own businesses, but for all, this is the needed recognition of their value, reduction of social inequality, and the creation of a new future for their families. To create change in a problem spanning over generations, or to meet the emerging needs that have come with our interconnected world, it takes more than increasing funding and more than hoping that someone fits the current system. It is about meeting core needs that empower someone to thrive.
In every community, there is work to be done. In every nation, there are wounds to heal. And at Enactus Macquarie, we have the power to do it.